was at the bank this morning, and they ran a credit check to see if could we get the house out there, and apparently have good credit because that would be call 7 that I've received since the credit check. The credit bureau's like giving out all the information whenever they do a credit check, so they all want to get a hold of me. It's like, hey, you want us, not the other person. But go to Proverbs chapter 12, and I think we finished verse 6 last week. Pick up on verse 7, and we'll see how far we go. I'll read down through verse 15 to begin tonight. Proverbs chapter 12, and verses 7 through 15. The Bible says, "The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoureth himself and lacketh bread. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beasts, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise." And let me pick this up, continuing looking at it. How are we established, or how do we collapse? In life, we want to be able to have a life that stands. If we were a building, we'd want to be built on a solid foundation. 1 Corinthians it says, "No other foundation can any man lay than this, that is Christ Jesus." And then it talks about building our life on there, either building out of gold, silver, precious stones, or out of wood, hay, and stubble, and that our life will be tried, so as by fire. And only those things that meaningful, the gold, silver, precious stones, those are refined by fire. The wood, hay, and stubble, they disappear. And we want to look at how do we stand before God. And wisdom is going to keep us standing, but we want to understand, how do we have a life that is steady, is secure, is planted, and is strong, and able to not just stand in one spot, but to go out and reach the world and be strong and effective. And this first verse here gives a way to have your life not stand. It says, "The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand." The wicked are overthrown. And sometimes when we look at the world around us, we get the impression that that's not the case. We say, hey, what about them? What about them? What about them? They're wicked, obviously wicked. I mean, am I the only one that ever sees that and wonders, hey, why? What's going on? They're doing wrong and they haven't fallen yet. Did you have a? Yeah. It's not our time. In one of the Psalms, David writes, I talking about looking at all this, and it said, "That till I went unto the sanctuary of the Lord, then understood I their end." We sometimes think, hey, God, and this is the thought that comes to our mind, that God is slacking because he hasn't done this. That's why in the New Testament it said, hey, God's not slack concerning his promises, as some men count slackness, but is merciful, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance, redemption. God wants to see them saved. And you see God's mercy when you see someone wicked and they're not overthrown yet. Okay? It is coming, and it is going to be, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And those who seek to run away from God, their house the wicked are overthrown and are not. And what is left of Hitler's legacy? The House of Bonaparte. How much influence do they have in the world today? Not a whole lot.
And this is interesting, and I don't know what verse it is, but in Isaiah, there's going to come a day, I got it out now, but all of us are going to look at this cover and say, this is what we were all worked up about?
Mm.
I think, it is, that the whole world is going to say, really? This is the devil? And this is...
We were so afraid of him. Everybody's terrified about this, and when the wicked are overthrown, it's just like, oh, that person. I mean, I could still see in my mind the video clip when they caught Saddam Hussein and pulled him out of that bunker. The scared guy who's got hasn't shaved in weeks, and kind of looking bedraggled, running away, scared, a fugitive. Who was prior to that one of the cruelest dictators in the world. And now here he is. And like, really? They were worried about that guy? And the wicked are overthrown. Now, we sometimes don't see it, and sometimes we don't see it in this life. But look at the second part of this verse. It says, but the house of the righteous shall stand. He talks about house. I mean, we talk about, okay, I don't have termites in my walls. My foundation isn't, it's concrete. That's not really what it's talking about. The house of David versus the house of Saul. It's your family, your influence, your legacy that you're leaving to go forward. Okay? The house of David, there would never fail a seed of Jesse to sit on the throne of David. And it's talking about Christ there. That house is not going to fall. And the house of Saul, it's falling apart. You look at the wicked and say, hey, where's their legacy for going on? And sometimes they're super rich and this, but what happens when the super rich goes to the super rich spoiled kids? Those riches to pass on.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
give you that reference to that.
Yeah.
It's Isaiah 14:16. It's about Lucifer after he exalts himself.
Okay.
He shall be brought down.
Okay. What does it say?
It says, well, I'll read above it, and it says, I will ascend above the heights, and I will be the Most High. And then it says, yet thou shalt be brought down to the pit, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider the earth. I got these bifocal. Upon thee, they shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee and saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did make it shake? They'll look at him narrowly and look, you are the one who did all this, Mm-hmm. So anyway, after he did all this speech, I will be like you. They're going to look narrowly at him and think, you? When you're brought down to hell. So anyway, I just think of that as, the devil himself's going to be looked at narrowly and think, you're the one that did that. Sorry, Pastor.
And it's absolutely, there's an amount of faith that we need when we see the wicked getting away with all that stuff, realizing, hey, it's their judgment is coming, and sometimes not in this generation, but it's to that individual, the next, but to that house, it may come out in the next generation. We look at a very short time frame. We like looking at things like right now. And even in that verse about judgment, it says, that's the same context. And it says, God is not slack. Then it says, but a day of the Lord is as 1,000 years. He's going to come. He's going to judge them. It's coming. But his timetable is not our timetable. And sometimes I like to say, hey, where's the strength, the standing of my house? We're poor, I don't have money to give to this next person, where are my kids going to have college, are they going to be able to go to those good colleges or this or that and the other thing? Well, is that the best legacy that you can give them is $1 billion? Or is there a better legacy? It says in Proverbs, a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, okay? That doesn't mean you write your kids out of the will and put just your grandkids in. It means that what you leave to your children, you also gave them the wisdom to be able to carry that on to the next generation. It's one thing to leave money to your kids, but to leave it with them and they have that ability to carry it forward, that's a totally different thing. And the house of the righteous standing, that means your family's going to stand this generation, next generation, and it's going to continue years and years, long time after you're gone. That legacy is going to continue. And the wicked, it's all about what's right now, what's in front of me here. And when we get upset because they're getting it right now, we're thinking like the wicked, rather than thinking down the road, think about eternity. It's what they got right now is nothing. And we need to have the faith to keep it with God's eyes and sight. Part of the house standing has to do with how people look at us, our opinion. Now, it's not everything, but it does mean something. Verse 8 says, "A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread." So, talk about this here. There's one word there used twice and almost as contradictory, it seems. But so, a man shall be commended. What does it mean to be commended? Jeremy? Praised? Okay. Isaiah, we commend him on his hard work and diligence completing high school. Okay? When you see someone do something wise, you'd say, wow, he made a good decision there. He did that well. He did a really good job.
Attaboy.
Yeah. And so when people see someone doing something wise, people in general commend them. Now, sometimes they're jealous of that person and they get those one things, but in general, people will commend if they see wisdom. They say, hey, that was good. Okay? Yesterday we went to the circus, was in Toma. And some people doing things, I don't know if it was wise, but it was pretty dexterous. I mean, put a blindfold over the assistant's face and have her hold a crossbow backwards over her back and shoot the balloon off of your own head. It's like, hey, that was pretty. I commend them for, hey, you figured that one out somehow or another. Maybe not safety, but you had a lot of skill. Or the person blindfold walking on top of a moving 20-foot diameter spinning thing where he's not tethered on anything and he's blindfolded walking, and then he's jump roping up there. Hey, that's commended according to his dexterity, his balance. You see someone do something, a really good play and something well in business or something else, say, hey, or someone invents something. Say, wow, Edison, you invented the light bulb. That's awesome. We're going to praise you for that. We'll give you the patent for that. We're going to name power companies after you. And, we're going to say you invented electricity, even though you didn't. But when someone does something well, people commend them. Okay? And that legacy, okay, the legacy of Thomas Edison, is that carried on to today? Do people use the word Edison? Sure.
Sits over here.
Yeah, right over there. Okay. Someone did a good job, as a president. You heard the name Washington, or Lincoln. Those legacies, that commendation will carry on years after they're gone. But then it says, "But he that is a perverse heart shall be despised." You have people, making monuments to a perverted person years after they're gone. Man, this was the biggest slut in the city. We're just going to make this huge monument to this person. Do you ever see that?
Stormy Daniels.
Okay. Well, people, when there's something that's perverted, that someone's doing something very bad, right? They don't get that. Now, I'll say this because California does have a Harvey Milk Day, which is their celebration of coming out day. There are people who, if they are also of a perverse heart, will want to try to make themselves sound better by praising someone else who is of that perverse heart. Talks about in Romans chapter 1 that those that do such things, knowing that they're facing the judgment of God. Let me get the verse here in Romans chapter 1. It says, let's see here. Backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient spirit, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Okay? So there are those who have a perverse heart. They might lift up someone else with a perverse heart, but they don't really have that respect inside themselves for them. You will have accommodation. We respect people who do things very wise, even if it's not on our side, not our team. You're like, wow, that guy did a really good move. That guy was really smart, and he just put my company out of business. I respect him for his wisdom. I wish he hadn't done it, but he made a good move. Someone who's of a wicked heart might say, oh yeah, this person's so great, but that deep level of respect isn't really there. It's, I know what you did is wrong, I know what I'm doing is wrong. And what is, if commended is to praise someone or boast of someone, what does it mean to despise someone?
Can't stand them whatsoever.
I mean, there's the idea of kind of, I loathe this person, I hate this person, but it's not always, doesn't always have that connotation. It could just be you think very little of that person. That person's not that important. Despise not the day of small things. Little things happen. That could be a big deal. And sometimes to despise something just means to think little of or think less of. Now we often do that. Someone we just can't stand. It's like, whatever you have to say, it's not worth it. I'm thinking very little of what you're saying. I don't want to hear it. After the third call of someone saying, "Hey, I wanted to, see that you're interested in discussing about loan options on your property on McLean Avenue." Click, hang up. Okay. I don't know that person. The offer. That's not what I'm going for. Got a lot of spam calls coming. I don't think very highly of that. And to despise something now, do I despise that person as a person? No. And yeah, that person's doing a job, but I'm not going to waste his time because I'm definitely not going through their company. If they're going to pay to buy my information from someone else, what are they going to do with my information if I give them any more of it? I mean, I'm not going to really do that. But if someone is doing something that's perverse, what it says right here, perverted, okay? They might get an Academy Award for it from a bunch of other people who have equal perverse. But do people in the world, when they think, okay, who's a wise person I should really go to for counsel, do they think, oh yeah, that person who said all those rude, lewd things in that movie, that would be a great person to go to counsel for on how to resolve these crises? No. Now, some people might do that. Unfortunately, when they idolize people like that in a culture, kids growing up seeing that, they think, oh, maybe that is the kind of person I need to go to. But most people, when they see that, like, yeah, maybe that's a great actor, but if I'm going to ask marriage advice, I'm not going to talk to that person for marriage advice. How do I raise my children? That actor does a great job as an actor on TV, but does he do a good job in real life raising his children? Is that the person? And so we would say, hey, my value I'm putting on that person's parenting advice might be very, very low. I'm devaluing it, I'm despising that. And it's because of the way their mind thinks, okay? You know, if someone came in here and said, hey, I want to do a marriage seminar in your church. I'm an expert at marriage. I've been married 27 times. I'm an expert at marriage. Okay? We'd say, no. Right? He's like, no, I finally figured it out. I got it right this time. Like, yeah, maybe you did, but there's understanding, hey, if you've done something wrong,
26 times.
hopefully you learn from your mistakes, but I'm going to commend someone who's like, hey, in a couple of weeks I'm going out to see my wife's grandparents, and he's a pastor, she's a pastor's wife. 70 years, faithful, serving God in the ministry, planted churches all across America, pastored a lot of different churches. Okay? We're going to ask marriage advice, which I did. He actually did with my premarital counseling. Would I ask that person? He's only been married once. This other guy has been married 27 times in 10 years. This person's only been married once in 70 years. I mean, come on, who should we get advice from here? All right? And it's just showing that if there could be something that makes people think little of your advice, okay? Now, man's perception isn't everything, okay? Because the next verse kind of shows a flip side of that. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. So, it doesn't say he that is despised and hath a slave. He that is despised and hath a servant. Maybe other people think bad of you. If you go into a perverted society and act normal, like the Bible, they will think bad of you. But if you've got one person who's willing to follow you and willing to be your servant, okay, there's at least one person there that isn't despising you, okay? Now the other person said, hey, nobody thinks bad of me. I'm the greatest. I'm starving to death, but I'm the greatest. Nobody cares enough about me to actually give me food. But I think I'm way smarter than you. And look at all the likes that they gave me and all that. It'd be interesting to see what happens, if there's big struggles and shifts in the economy. One of the things that might if businesses decide that advertising on Facebook isn't paying off anymore, then those people who they're rich because they're popular, suddenly they're popular and Facebook is no longer paying out money for the ads. Oops. Now I don't have bread to eat. I can change my blog to a homeless blog. What's it like on the streets with no food, versus someone who, I've got 5 friends on Facebook, but those friends are real friends. And it's some people, they go everything like, oh, I don't want to be despised, so I'll do everything so that people think better of me. Everyone in the world can, I want them to commend me. And it doesn't necessarily say here that other people are commending this person. It's this person just, what does it think is he honoreth himself. He puts himself out there as being the wisest person, the least despised person, and maybe he is popular, but the person that people in general think less of if they've still got a servant. So, how do I say this here? Part of having a legacy, yes, you want to be commended for your wisdom. If you're perverse, you're going to be despised because of the perverseness. Someone could have been a great president, a great leader, but if they're caught in some sort of scandal or affair, what do people remember that person as? They remember some sort of scandal. They remember some sort of affair. They don't necessarily remember, hey, this guy had a really good policy about this and actually did a good job on this. Nope. It's all about that. Why? Because you're despised if you're perverse. But in your lifetime, being despised isn't the worst thing, because sometimes people will despise you if you're standing up for what's right. And yes, in general, people do despise the perverse, but there's going to be some times where, hey, if you're standing up doing right, there may be some people following, many people will despise. Don't live your life just to not be despised by people, because then you're despised by all. And so that's kind of what it's giving this example here of, if you still have some people that are willing to serve you, you're not despised by all in that. Versus if you just have all this honor by yourself. So having a house that stands and goes on to generations. Let's look a bit more at the righteousness here and how we do this. Verse 10, a righteous man regardeth the life of his beasts, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain purses is void of understanding. And some of these verses could be stand alone on their own, or you put them together. Righteous person is merciful. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean a righteous person is a vegetarian and never kills animals. But a righteous person will regard the life of his beasts. He will say, hey, yeah, that's a cow. I'm going to eat it later, but I'm not going to be cruel to it. I'm not going to starve it. I'm not going to be meaner than I need to it. And I'm going to feed them, take care of them. Okay? Maybe that's a horse for pulling my cart, or maybe that's a ox for plowing my field. I'm going to be kind to that animal. I'm not going to just be mean just for the sake of being mean. A wicked person, and it says here, the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. So a wicked person, here their kids are coming in, and they're cruel even to their kids. How cruel are they going to be to the animals? This isn't a verse about animal rights or anything. It's just showing the example. A righteous man is tendeth toward kindness, gentleness, mercy. It's going to regard the life of his beasts, even if he's planning totally to slaughter that animal later. Then when it comes to his kids, he's not planning on slaughtering them. And he's going to show mercy and kindness to them. Now, a cruel person, his most tender, most merciful things that he's going to do for his kids, or anyone, is going to be cruel. Okay? Hey, I just slapped you in the face. Be grateful that that's all I did to you. Okay? That's the good morning. How you doing? Okay? The wicked person doesn't care about anyone else. A righteous person is going to care about others around them, and so much so do they care about other people around them that tendency toward kindness is going to spill over to the beasts and the things that they don't care about as much. The wicked person, they care so much about themselves that even the people that would be closest to them, they're going to be cruel to. Does that make sense? Our righteousness, where we're doing this. And then it says, he that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread. And I think, animals on a farm, tilling the land, those kind of go together here. But this is talking about the work. If you do the work on your land, you're going to get the bread. Okay? Doesn't mean you're going to be the richest person in the world, but you're going to have what you need. That's just the way of life. You have to work to eat. If you work and you're honest with your work, you're going to eat. You're not going to starve to death. Right? But then it says, he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. And this is where you also get a lot of cruelty, is where people are following vain. What does the word vain mean? Well, self-absorbed. That's kind of an application you see of vain. The root meaning of the word vain. It's void. Okay.
I was going to say unprofitable.
Unprofitable. It means empty. Unprofitable. So a self-absorbed person we'd say that's kind of an empty person. They look really good, but Is there any substance in there that's going to be of any use to anyone else? No. It's all about themselves. And if you're following an empty person, someone who's self-absorbed, there's nothing in them that they're there to try to give to anyone else. It's all a show. It's all fake.
Worthless.
Yeah. Dirt is not that popular, but if you work it, you're going to get food. Hey, this guy, he looks really good. He's on TV. I'm going to follow him. Okay? He says if I do these 6 steps, I'll be a millionaire in 5 weeks or less. Okay? Starts off, I give all my accounts over to him, and he's going to manage all my money. And, oh, hey, his show stopped. Where is he? Well, he's somewhere in Bermuda or some other country with all of your money. And he's rich in 6 weeks, and you have nothing. If you're following someone who's vain, okay? Now, how do you know if someone is vain? If someone comes in and says, hey, I've got this investment opportunity for you, okay? Or this opportunity, a job for you, that this is going to be a really good. How do you know? Is this a legit?
To my experience, it's usually if it's a quick rich scheme. There's a rabbit and a hare. To my experience, a rabbit ain't usually gonna produce.
So the formula for being satisfied with bread is work, tilling the land. Okay. If anyone says, here's how you can eat without work. Okay. Yeah, or I mean, it's just you work a little and you eat a lot. Okay. That idea, that concept, it's like this doesn't work in God's economy. It's not going to happen, or it's going to last. It's not going to last. It's something in there that is not right.
That's right.
And if you're following those persons, if you're say, hey, you know what, I'll follow this, I'll follow this. Here's where wisdom helps to ground people and helps to keep you established is you're able to see through those fake persons that are out there. Because there's a lot. Hey, get rich quick doing this or that or the other thing. And there's, so many things. Ads pop up all over. If you're online, Facebook, ads pop up. If you're surfing the web, ads pop up. Driving down the road, ads. Hey, get rich quick doing this. Hey, download this app and you can win real money while playing games. Wow, it's gambling. You will lose way more money than you win. But they don't tell you that. It's just download this app and hey, how come I got all these charges to my card? Well, you downloaded a gambling app. And you said you were 21. That's why. But the commercials just said I'd win money. Well, of course. Nobody puts a billboard up for a casino saying, hey, lose your money here. It's this win money. Actual results may vary. Meaning, actual results don't win money. But the little tiny, size 12 print on a billboard, actual results may vary. 1 in 21 billion win. I mean, it's you're not going to win, but, or no, actually, I love this one. 1 in so many million pay out 50%. 1 in this many million only lose half their money. I think it's kind of what it says. It's like, yeah, and I don't know exactly what that gambler's math doesn't really map out.
English means run. English says run.
Yeah, it means run. Don't follow vain people. Again, I didn't get quite done with all the verses I was wanting to get done with today. I think we can finish the next couple verses here really quick. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. Here, if we're choosing their wisdom, we're choosing what's right. Okay, wicked, they desire the net. They want to use the net of evil men to catch others, but what they're really desiring is to be caught in. They don't realize what they're going after. They're going to be caught in the net of evil men. The root of the righteous, though, yieldeth fruit. When we're doing what's right, we're planted, fruit is going to come out of that. Okay? It's not, hey, I'm going to catch other people. That's not going to build you up, okay? If you're trying to build your life and your legacy off of the backs of other people, that's not going to build a legacy that anyone's going to honor. It's having those roots. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. People say things and it gets them in trouble. It comes back to bite them. Well, you said this back then. And the words that they said now comes back to bite them. They're snared by that. But the righteous, if you just say, hey, I'm going to do what's right, I'm always going to say what's right. You know, what is it? Tom Sawyer, they said, hey, tell the truth the first time and you don't have to remember what you said. Tom Sawyer, a Huckleberry fan, I forget which one. I think it was Tom Sawyer. He kept lying in each town he got in as far as who he was or where he was from, and he kept forgetting which lie he was saying in which town. And it's like, just tell the truth the first time, and you don't have to remember what you said. You get trapped, but snared by your words. But the just shall come out of trouble. You know, if people try to accuse you of things, but when you're doing things right, you get out of that trouble. You know, if they look back at the records and like, oh, yeah, that's, you know, I think the example, I think I mentioned this a few sermons ago, but Justice Kavanaugh, when they were confirming him, and they brought up this person had this allegation that he did something to her at a party back when they were in college, and he was able to come up, here's my planners. Every month of my life since way before college is detailed, and it's always accurate where I was, and you can vouch for everyone else. And here I was at this study group at that day, and you can ask all those people, and here they are, we brought them here, you can ask them to testify. I've been at those studies. I didn't go to those parties at all. I was, on my planner said I was at go to the study group that day. I wasn't even at that party.
Right.
The just shall come out of trouble. Yeah, there can be trouble, there can be allegations, but if you're doing things right all the way along, you're gonna get out of it. Versus once they open up a path, they're like, well, let's talk about this chapter of your life. Okay, I'm resigning, I'm stepping out. You know, and it's some people that, oh wow, this person's climbing until they get nominated to some high position, and someone asks one question and they just walk out. They don't answer it, they just step out of the race and try to bow out into the obscurity. Like, okay, well, something in there wasn't right. You know, they hit a nerve, and we want to be established. We need to allow God to establish us, and we need to do what's right and choose what's right. Verse 14 there, a man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. When we say the right words, we're going to get that reward. Okay, versus the wicked being snared by the mouth. When we use the right words, we're going to be rewarded by it. The recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. Hey, you get what you deserve. That's going to happen. We want to have a legacy. Dish out good. You're going to have good coming back to you and to your children long after you're gone. And that's how you can leave that legacy for that. So we'll end there on verse 14. We'll pick it up in next week there. Let's have a word of prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for your goodness to us, your wisdom. I pray that you would guide us. We want to follow your righteousness. We don't want to have the cruel, tender mercies, but real mercies that you've shown to us. Help us to be able to show those to others as well. And I pray, Lord, that you'd help us with our words to be saying right things. Help us to do right things, Lord. That if people despise us, that it's not despising us for doing perverse things and wrong things, but that it would be for doing what's right. And I pray that you would be honored through our lives. And Lord, may we leave a legacy for you that lasts beyond our life, beyond the time that we have here to serve, Lord. May there be, may people draw closer to you because of what we've done in our lives. And I pray you get the glory for it in Jesus' name. Amen. You're dismissed.